O prezentăm pe Bogusia să ne povestească puțin de Pure Storage.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Bogusia Fresa. I work at Pure Storage. I'm a field solutions architect for our unstructured data, and I cover our region, which includes beautiful Romania. In all of the needs for your unstructured data around analytics, AI, modern data protection. And today I want you to start with imagining. So let's first imagine a day in life of a backup admin or a storage admin. They wake up in the morning, it's a beautiful sunny morning, the birds are chirping, but then he checks his phone and there's a message from his manager. And it looks like that. And everybody's in panic, something has happened. The bad guys got into the company and they are now requesting ransom. And what do we do? And nobody wants to be in that situation. None of you wants to be in that situation. And now you ask, why is there a storage admin involved? And how does the storage system play a role in like active cybersecurity prevention, right? Well, it actually does play quite a big role. Because if you think about it, when all of the cyber criminals are getting into your company, they're not getting in there to, mess around with your network access. They get in there for a very specific reason. They want to either encrypt your data or steal your data. And that data usually lives on storage systems. So, numbers, $2.73 million. That is quite a lot, right? That is a big investment. But this is an average ransomware that was paid in 2024. No, you don't want to be in that situation. 94%, okay, very high success rate. And that is the amount of times when attackers get into your system that they actually go into your backups. So when you think about storage and security, you think, okay, we have backups, we're safe, right? No, you're not. You're very much not safe. This is the first place where the attackers will go when they will get into your systems. And what is even more terrifying is that more than half of those attempts, 57% of attempts to compromise your backups, they are successful. So your backups at that stage, they don't exist. There is no security. And when that happens, it costs you 8 times more to recover. Whatever it's a time to recover, or whatever it's time and the money that you need to spend to pay the ransom, but it will cost you more if those backups are compromised. And what are the threat actors, right? Because obviously there is more and more attacks. Everything is happening very fast. And back in the day, when we imagined hackers and people that wanted to get access to our data, they were very highly skilled professionals. They were very specific profiled. It was not that many of them. And now suddenly we see a rise of pretty much everybody being able to do it. And we hear about things like ransomware as a service, where you pretty much can just use an online service to launch a ransomware attack. And there are things like that there, and they are actually successful. They are very successful in gaining access to your company and to your data. With the rise of AI, right, we see a lot of benefits, we see a lot of good things coming out of us using AI, but at the same time, it gives people access to kind of a better understand and be able to launch attacks on your company without having much of like previous knowledge. And there is a lot of teenagers, young people out there with a lot of time on their hands. They're new into it, so they try and they go and explore. And as well, like one of the very high-profile things nowadays, which is the foreign states launching attacks on each other and actually having a very highly skilled teams of cyber criminals that are just employed by the state in order to attack foreign states. And why is that happening? Well, money. Money is always the answer. So if you think about world economies, right? The United States, obviously, as always, leads in that space. China follows them closely, but very closely right after that is actually cybercrime. Cybercrime is the third world largest economy. There is a lot of money in ransom, there is a lot of money in stealing and encrypting your data. And now back to storage. So how do you prevent this from happening? How do you prevent from having your data chained and locked up by somebody else and you having to spend money in order to get access back to it? So there are ways to protect yourself. And all of this, when you plan, when you design, the best way is to do it holistically. And the way to do this holistically is to look into frameworks. So at Pure Storage, when we design and think of the future features for our system, we look at all of the cybersecurity frameworks, and in this example I will take NIST 2.0 cybersecurity framework, which looks at certain 5 pillars of cybersecurity and where it can help and kind of help you and build out a better cybersecurity prevention, especially in the storage space as well. So we start with identification. So in order to protect yourself and prevent any cybersecurity threats, you need to be able to identify where are your weak spots, what is happening. And in order to do that, when it comes to storage, you need to have really good insights into what is in your storage estate, what vulnerabilities are you exposed to, how is your data protected, do you have all of the backups, are your snapshots locked and immutable, are you safe? And there are tools that you can use. For example, in Pure Storage, we do have like an online portal where you can check all of this across all of your storage real estate that you have from us. That helps you kind of allow and assess the situation, what's the protection level, of the storage fleet, what's the data score, how many vulnerabilities are you currently exposed to, and so on. But the biggest part of the pillar, and when the storage actually can help you a lot and design and what features are available, is the protection part, right? So this is the area where you have to think about your backups. You have to think, okay, do I have backups? Can they be changed? Are they immutable? Is my data fully protected? Can it be deleted? Do I have encryption? If anybody just physically comes in and takes my media, am I safe? And this is things like write once, read many solutions, S3 with the object lock, for example, can really, really help with backups because it addresses the data at very individual level and it gets it protected at a very individual level, as well as, for example, immutable and indeletable snapshots, because this is very important. Just because you cannot change the snapshot doesn't mean that the hackers will not be able to just go ahead and delete that data. But what comes here as well, I think it's important for that protection, is access. So whenever you look at a storage solution, you think from like data perspective, but also from access perspective, we really do encourage everybody to always use multi-factor authentication as well. Even when your admins have access to your storage, it's way better than to just have a simple password. It's much more secure. Detection. So how can you detect that something is happening? Again, hackers, bad actors, cyber criminals, they usually will be in your company, in your operation for quite a long time, right? They may be lurking, they could possibly put ransomware or any sort of other bad software within your data that you've already backed up for like weeks and months. So you may not necessarily even know or understand what was the time when they got into the system. So that's where certain features of how storage operates helps. So for example, with our systems, you have the feature that allows you to monitor the data reduction ratio. And why is that? So normally the data will be at least deduplicable or compressible, right? So when you store data on our systems, your data will never physically weigh the same as it does when you read it. It will always be slightly changed. And we do look at that value, at that number, and kind of understand and log it. And what happens when a ransomware attack happens is that at that very stage, once the data is encrypted, it cannot be deduplicated. That value then automatically drops to 0. So we do have a service that kind of monitors your system all time in real life and checks for that data reduction ratio. So that can straight away raise the alarm that something is going on and action needs to be taken. As well as when we talk about more unstructured, like a file-based or object-based workloads, where you can monitor directly through audit logs with any third-party integrations that allow for this. For example, for very specific extensions of files that are being loaded to that file system or to that bucket, that would suggest that there is a bad actor that's currently trying to put files into that location. And this is the best way to detect and monitor what could be possibly happening and act in real time. Respond. So assuming that everything failed and you do have to respond. So we are all familiar with the 3-letter acronyms like RTO and RPO. We've been through them. Everybody knows that your recovery point objective is important, your recovery time objective is important. However, I think the most important one that's not mentioned often enough, especially when it comes to ransomware, is WRT. WRT is a work recovery time. Work recovery time is a time that will be consumed by your IT team to identify a good copy of your data. Because like we said, right, the actors are there for quite a long time. They probably have the files already compromised in your backups for months. So now your IT team needs to sit down and try and find a point in time where that data was still healthy. So that work recovery time, it's something that has to be accounted for, but it's also something for which you will need one of very important solutions, which is a clean room. In order for your IT team to start slowly restoring the data, in order to find the point where you were safe, they need to be able to restore it safely into non-compromised environment. So having ability to put a storage quickly into that clean room and quickly restore from those backups is very important. And recover. So you managed to find the clean backups, everything is safe, and now you just have to go ahead and recover everything back from those backups. And perfectly fine, usually when we design backup solutions, right, the main requirement that you hear is, I want to be able to complete X terabytes of backup during X window frame of time. And this is perfectly fine when you just think that, okay, I will never need to use them again because why? We are not exposed. Well, that can change if you are exposed, and that's the time when the time that it actually takes to recover is way more important than the time that it was taking to back those files up. So with storage that holds your backup, if that storage is not performant enough and cannot scale enough, you will not be able to achieve the needed performance for your recovery to satisfy your business getting back online faster. So it's very, very important to understand the choice of the storage systems that you put into your environment. That yes, they do need to be able to do backup. Every storage vendor is able to do the backup, but you should ask your storage vendor, are you able to recover me fast enough? And And at that, if there are any questions, I am available. Please find me afterwards. And one thing I would like to mention is that we would really like to encourage you to try and see how easy our solutions are to use. We actually have a small gift, small gifts for the first 3 people that will approach me after the session and ask for a link to our test drive. And for everybody else, I also would like to highly encourage you to come over, chat to us, and find out for yourself what Pure Storage can do for you. Thank you.
Interesantă prezentare. Viteză, scalabilitate, toate sună bine până când apare cineva ca mine. Știți ce găsesc nostalgic la mediile vechi de stocare? Timpul. Timpul în care puteam opera fără să fiu văzut, fără să-mi fac prea multe griji. Dar cu băieții de la Pure, regulile jocului s-au schimbat. Și totuși orice revoluție digitală începe cu un simplu hard disk.
Da, se pare că a rămas în continuare aici, încă nu l-am prins, mă bazez pe voi.